What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of On the Break. We have a good one coming to you. We are continuing our series of videos for team previews going into this upcoming season. The next team we have are the Orlando Magic. So, Trevon, last year, the Orlando Magic showed a lot of flashes of really good young talent, I would say. They were really competitive in a lot of games. I think actually surprised a lot of people. It just kind of didn't end up in the win-loss column as much as they probably would have liked, but they have a lot of really good young talent, man. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts on what you think about the Orlando Magic going into this upcoming season.
Yeah, so the Orlando Magic finishing 13th in the Eastern Conference. They were actually not too far out from the 11th spot. They didn't have a chance to make the play-in, but they were only how many games? They're only one game behind the Indiana Pacers, who finished in the 11th spot. And the Indiana Pacers have good young talent, especially this year. They'll be good. But when you look at Orlando, you obviously are looking at Paolo. And for me personally, I'm looking at Franz Wagner. Paolo averaged 20 points per game on 34 minutes. He was fairly efficient. You would like to see him be more efficient with overall field goals. He only shot 43. But Franz Wagner, he averaged 19 points around the same amount of shots, but he was way more efficient. He shot 49% overall. And he also shoots pretty decent from the three, especially for a guy his size, 36% from the three-point line. Also a great free throw shooter, 84%. So those are your two spearheads right there. I feel like Orlando has actually one of the teams I would expect to make one of the biggest jumps going into the next season. They drafted a pretty good size guard, Anthony Black, out of Arkansas. He showed that he has pretty good playmaking abilities. He's shown that he's a willing competitor. Summer League, he did really well. And also he's shown to have some pretty good defensive instincts, which is something I think that Orlando could use. We already know about their guards, Markelle Fultz, Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony. They had RJ Hampton. He's no longer with the team. They tend to go guard heavy, but hopefully they can kind of decide on who they want to keep and actually piece around what they need. Wendell Carter is also a good player. He's pretty much a veteran now. He's been there since 2019, I think, or 2018. He's around
I
that
I
5 year mark.
don't know if I remember. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about in the league?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I thought you meant when he got to Orlando, because at first he was with, I believe it was the Bulls. So,
Yeah, just in the league. Just in the
just in the
league.
league. Yeah, I believe it was around 2019, I believe, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's experienced. He's a guy that, could put in that center position. He doesn't need the ball. You can have him be included in the offense and stuff. He averaged 15 points himself, but he's not the guy that you're going to focus around. I think he can fit pretty well when you have two skilled forwards like them. You can honestly put one of them at the small forward position. Wendell can fit in that center position. They did lose the fan favorite Bobo, but I think they could still be fine with, just the young core that they have. And Paolo had a very impressive rookie year. I envision on him continuing to develop. He's in the FIBA Cup along with the USA team. So he's getting a lot of experience around other young guys that have been in the league. Everybody on that team is pretty much mature. And I think it's an experience that he can take and translate into the next season for the Orlando Magic. And just kind of going back to the standings, I mentioned that they were 13th in the East, but they already were ahead of Detroit and Charlotte. I'm pretty sure that they'll be ahead of Washington, who they finished a spot behind. Toronto, I envision, will drop out of that play-in spot. Toronto was at 10. Oh, I skipped over Indiana. Indiana will probably make a jump also. Tyrese Halliburton, Benedict Mathurin, Miles Turner, Buddy Hield, and then they just got Bruce Brown. That's a team that's pretty good, and a lot of others that I didn't even mention. And then also Chicago, what's going to happen with them? Are they going to have the same core? I think they said Vucevic, he made a comment saying this is probably the last chance with this core that we'll have. So I think they have an opportunity to get within that 7 through 10 playing spot. I wouldn't even be surprised if Atlanta had another up and down year, which I don't think they will. I think Quinn Snyder will be a better coaching fit to operate that offense and that team. We don't know how good Brooklyn will be. Can they do a whole full 82 game season and stay within? They finished in sixth place. Can Orlando possibly jump them? Possibly. So I think there's a window of opportunity for them to just be within postseason basketball. Will it be the top six? Will it be the play-in? I'm not sure, but I expect for them to be in the mix next year. More likely the play-in just because of experience and stuff like that. But I think that there'll be a team we'll see competing going into the whole playoff section of the NBA season.
Yeah, I think Coach Mosley is going to do a really good job in helping this young team develop and helping them get better from last year. I think it's going to reflect in the win-loss column this upcoming season. I don't think that they're gonna get past Brooklyn. I really like what Brooklyn did, even after the KD Kyrie trade with Bridges, Cam Johnson, and you even mentioned Spencer Dinwiddie, Claxton. I think they will be good. I'm not gonna say the Orlando Magic are gonna jump them just yet, because I still think the Orlando Magic have some things to figure out. And you touched on this a little bit. I think that they're really guard heavy, and they're still figuring out who they're going to be able to rely on at that backcourt position. You just talked about Anthony Black that they just drafted out of Arkansas. I think he's a really good talent. I think he's a really good player coming out of college. But with Cole Anthony, with Jalen Suggs, and even Markelle Fultz, you know, a lot of people forget about him. It's just a lot of players in that guard position. They even have
Oh,
Gary Harris.
yeah. I
Uh,
didn't even mention like Jet Howard, Jawan Howard's son. He's a
yeah,
shooter.
Jet Howard.
And
Yeah,
then Andre Jackson, that athletic. He's probably more like a 4-3, probably more so like a four, that athletic guy from UConn. Pretty much
yep.
just Black and Jet Howard would be kind of thrown into that thing you're talking about with the guards.
Yeah, and the only reason I bring that up is to say I just feel like they're gonna have to figure that out. Whereas in Brooklyn, I don't think that they have that problem, and it's a good problem to have for the Orlando Magic, because ever since Vucevic and that team that had him on there, ever since they traded him away, they've been stocking talent. They've just been grabbing the best players that they can get out of drafts and out of like signings when they did with Bowl or whatever the case may be. And it's a good problem to have, because you're trying to figure things out, and that gives you a better chance of finding those Paolo Bancheros, those players that are really good. So I just feel like they're gonna have to figure that out throughout the season, and that's trial and error, man. You know, you're just gonna have to figure that out. Whereas in Brooklyn, I think they're a little more set. But I agree with you, man. This is Paolo's team. I really, really like Franz Wagner's game, man. So those two, I think, can be really good players for the Orlando Magic, and that they can build around them, bring those young guys along, like we just mentioned, and build a good team. So, and I think Coach Mosley is a good coach that likes to figure things out and does a good job at putting his players in really good positions. So I'm looking forward to seeing this team. You even mentioned Wendell Carter. I think he can bring a lot of value to the team as well. So I'm looking forward to it, man. This team was really exciting to watch last year because they were just so competitive. Like, there were a lot of games that a lot of people didn't give them much of a chance to win, but they just figured out a way to make it competitive. They even stole a few games. So I'm just looking forward to seeing their growth, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Paolo after having the great rookie season he had last year, winning Rookie of the Year and all that stuff. I think he surprised some people last year because he had a really good rookie season. I believe he averaged about 20 points last year and all that. And usually rookies don't come in averaging 20, right? But it is going to be fun to watch this team next year.
Definitely. I honestly, me personally, I put Orlando in that same tier of expectations for not now, but years to come, seeing better success and improvement in this next season. But over the years, I put them in the same boat as Oklahoma City, Houston Rockets, the Detroit
Yeah.
Pistons, just as far as, you have unquestionable talent that you can see lasting in the league. And then you just surround them with more talent. And they're already showing success at a very young age where none of these teams truly have veterans. In Detroit, they got Bogdanovich still. Houston had Eric Gordon. I'm trying to think. But none of these other teams, like none of them really have those veterans that, you look to like, oh yeah, he's been in the league like 10 plus years. So they're figuring a lot of this out on the fly. And I think in today's time, these reps is really what's going to develop these players, just learning to handle the NBA, learning to be the main guys. A lot of times people want to see results right away, but when you do things right and you give them the time to just keep developing, I think this is really when you see these teams have pretty much quick success as far as you can see the development, the promise that they have, and you expect for them to eventually become successful. So I think this is another one of those promising teams. I think is this the first team so far that we said we feel can like contend as far as the playing and stuff?
Uh, I think we talked about Charlotte possibly getting in
Possibly
there.
contending.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think this is the first team that we're like, yeah, like they're definitely poised to make a next step and compete for that plan.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you say that you see them kind of similar to the OKC Thunder because I kind of see that too. I feel like they're right. I would say the OKC Thunder are a little bit
Yeah. They
ahead
got the
because
edge.
they got Shea, but
Yeah.
I see them kind of right there because I think Paolo's just that good, and they have so many young, talented players, man, that if they hit on all cylinders, they can be a problem. So I
Yeah.
see it very similar to the Thunder, where they have a whole bunch of talent, and if they hit on all cylinders, OKC can be a problem too. So
Yeah,
no,
definitely.
I definitely agree with you there.
Yeah, if I had to rank it, I'd probably go OKC from just those four teams. OKC one, Orlando two, and then Houston and Detroit. You kind of gotta, but maybe Houston three, Detroit
I would
four,
say Houston before Detroit right now,
just
but
because I felt like Detroit has a lot more to figure out how those guys can work together. And then Cade also pretty much missed like the whole season
all of last
almost.
year, yeah.
So that's how I rank them, but I don't think it's no like crazy big margin, except for I think OKC is clearly the most promising team so far, just because they've
Mhm.
gotten that playoff experience. The playing, they were right there. They could have gotten to the 8 seed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so but they were just outmatched by Minnesota with their size. And Chet's gonna help out with that a little bit. But yeah, Orlando's definitely one of the most promising young teams. So I can see them waking a lot of people up. A lot of people, I mean, they're a smaller market team. So I feel like this is the year that people will, say, oh, like what's going on over there in Orlando?